Welcome to the CoCreative Intimacy Podcast. Our category for today is communication, and our topic specifically is we're going to do an Enneagram typing interview. And my guest today is Amelia. Amelia, hello.
Hi. Thank you, Paul, for having me.
Would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Oh, let's see. First of all, I proudly say that I am neurodivergent. I stopped masking any sort of just trying to fit so hard. So that's why I'm very interested in this. Just being myself, just being myself. So that is one of the first things about me. Eclectic is another word that is often used to describe me.
You mentioned that eclectic is used to describe you. Is that your word or what others say?
Others, and then when I was very young and first heard the word, the first time someone said that, based on styles and interests, little girls, they're often looking at your outside. And I definitely was, of three sisters, the most different, the most, both girl and boy traits in that, I was born in 1973. And so by the time, I was learning to read, I read earlier than the other kids. And computers were a big part of our family. Those computerized toys were starting to be introduced to girls more, like Speak and Spell and, oh goodness, just all those little type of computer games for kids.
Yeah. Tell me about your work or your career. What are you passionate about when it comes to work?
My passion is helping people, specifically now helping people be the healthiest they can be.
Tell me about your hobbies back when you were in high school.
I was editor of my newspaper, captain of my dance team, senior advisor, something on my pom team, play flute in the marching band and then the concert band. I was also in musicals. I was a statistician for the football team. Pretty much anything and everything. I didn't join the chess club, and I did do student council a year. So a little bit of everything, very much and I had friends in every sort of social group. I would have maybe one best friend, but not always. But I just had, sort of groups of people that I fit in with a lot of them. I would sometimes get my own feelings hurt because I might not be invited to something because everybody was like, oh yeah, she's with those guys, or she's been hanging out with them or, sort of thing. But it all worked out for me.
Do you ever do any writing?
I have been writing since I could write. Somewhere, I wish I had it with me. I have a laminated copy from first grade that my teacher is a poem that I wrote. And, I drew a picture and wrote when you're first learning to write on the little, those primary grammar school lines, the dotted lines. And I remember being very, very inspired by Robert Louis Stevenson, A Child's Garden of Verses. There's a cover. Oh, I don't think I have it. The one that I had as a kid, there was a young girl in the front with long, she had lighter blonde hair than mine, but long hair. And she was sitting in, a bunch of flowers. And I was like, that was me. That just from the, first time I saw that, I identified as that. And so the poem that I wrote for school, I carried this shame with me forever because I thought I had just copied it. But I realized later that I didn't.
Did you ever have imaginary friends growing up?
No, not actually imaginary
Did you have a
friends.
vivid imagination?
Absolutely. Lots of what ifs and playing out movies in my head.
Tell
A
me
lot
more
of
about
that.
Tell me about that.
I can remember when my parents told my younger sister and I that we were going to have a family meeting. And I just sort of envisioned what was going to be happening, excited. Maybe my brother is going to have a baby, playing all the scenarios out, and I could literally see it. And as it turned out, they were getting divorced.
Oh.
Yeah, I still see the movie of that. Yeah. Also, just the imagination, being able to write poetry, even kindergarten and younger. that just, all those sort of things may be a little bit different. And I see things differently.
Who are some poets you like?
Robert Louis Stevenson, for sure. That was one of the first ones as a kid that I knew. And also, is it Jules Verne? I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. Hurt feelings, because I feel like I can, if you misunderstand me and it upsets you, I can, that's, oh.
So
So,
do you see yourself as a person who kind of avoids the ordinary because you're different and you're special?
no, I have always wanted to fit into the ordinary and be all of that, but I've always known that I was special and different.
So now in your life, you mentioned a little bit about your work. I want to know, how important is art or the pursuit of something artistic in your life?
I'm going to say 9, actually. Yeah. I would put a 10, but
What
9.
do you do that pursuit?
Um, in any way, let's see. I've, everything from sketching. I do sketch some still, but now I focus more on photography, whether it's the light, just something, one of my plants or my dog, or, I have self-taught in that area. I also, music is is a huge part of my life, in that art, and the way it goes together. I'm often to friends and family, instead of just sending them, sharing a song on Spotify, it works better. Like they feel me better. They will listen to it. If I do a little screen recording that's 20 seconds long of my favorite part of the song, and it makes me think of them and why, and then I send it to them. And so that's kind of my, way. That's, for me, that is a little digital piece of art that I'm sending.
So I'm going to describe your bedroom, or maybe it's going to be your living room. I don't know. Remember, we've only met each other up to now. We've had maybe 20, 30 minutes together, right? So I'm going to guess that your bedroom, there's lots of little knickknacks and little curios, and maybe there's a rock or a piece of bark or something. And to the casual observer, it looks like a bunch of knickknacks. But for you, they are not knickknacks. These are important pieces in your life. Like perhaps that bark might be something like when your mother had cancer, or something. I'm making this up. You found this piece of bark, and then when you found this stone, it was when your mother had a talk with the family, that kind of thing. So they're very, very deep feeling pieces for you.
Yes.
So I already saw your reaction.
I'm sorry.
So if your house was burning down, which hopefully it will never do that.
I've been through that. That's what happened in 2019.
Really, really. So if you had an opportunity, let's say, to grab things out of your house besides your laptop and your money, I'm guessing you're going to grab all of those pieces of memorabilia from
Oh, yeah,
your space.
absolutely. Whatever I can stuff in my pockets, in my ears, if I could, all of that, just to little bits to carry it with me. Even the image of, a kid who has a security blanket, and
Mhm.
then when they go off to college, cutting that tiny little square, just that sort of small piece of memento, just to really hold on to those things. It's that type of, yes, gather all of those bits.
Amelia, I feel like I already sense what your Enneagram type is. In fact, I actually sensed it quite a while ago, but I wanted to make sure. So, although I'm giving you my observations of what your type is, please remember that I can never tell you what your type is. You can take a test, it may give you some suggestions on what your type is, but ultimately it's up to you. And the more you're developed as a person, the more you will exhibit qualities of many types. And so that's why it's easy for somebody like me or a test to get your type wrong. Therefore, you need to decide. But I'm feeling, with a lot of overwhelming information, overwhelmingly positive, that you're probably a type 4. So when you look at this diagram, have you ever seen this diagram before?
I have,
Something
yes.
similar?
Same.
Right. So I'm thinking that you might be a type 4. So 4 is known as the individualist. It's also called the artist, or it's the creative person. Now, of course, all humans have a creative aspect to themselves, but 4s have it more than anyone. It is the energy of 4s to be creative. They have such a vivid imagination. They're constantly doing art. They cannot not do art.
Mm-hmm.
They could be in a job that's humdrum with no art, but they're going to do art somewhere in their head, anywhere. So notice that there's 3 sets of 3 in this diagram. 2 3s and 4s are always wrestling with some sort of aspect of shame. Also notice that your triad, there's a body part, and your body part is what?
Heart.
As contrasted with the gut and with the head. So again, all human beings have a heart and a head and a gut. Everybody has that. That's why we're human. But the question is which one may be more prevalent in you? And it's kind of like you might even have like a stack of like which one is highest, the most developed, and which is next and next. And for you, I'm suggesting that your heart is well developed more than anything else. Would you agree
I
to
agree
that?
with that. Absolutely agree.
So you're definitely a feeling person. And that's why you like poetry, you like writing, you like really letting things go in deep. And I asked you a question which threw me off a bit. I asked you, do you see yourself as special and trying to avoid the ordinary? And you said absolutely not. And I want to like go deeper on that question. Would you say that you look at other people in life, how they're doing, and there's a bit of you that's a little bit envious, like, wow, they're doing it, they're doing that, and they're doing that, and they're doing this, and where am I at? And even though you might have made great progress, but you're noticing that there's a little bit of want, a little bit of lack. Does that happen?
Always. I absolutely am comparing myself to others, and I am choosing, and that's where some of this now I'm choosing to see the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Every person is going to have their way, their own way of articulating themselves. And so normally when I ask a type 4, do you avoid the ordinary and like to be special? They say, yes, I always avoid the ordinary. And so you didn't answer in that way, but I'm still thinking the overwhelming preponderance of information is that you're still a 4. And I see it in so many things. I see it in the musical theater, in everything really. It's kind of like the way you talk, even. You're very. But the biggest sign was when I was describing, your like the knickknacks in your house, which are not, as we know, they're not knickknacks.
Right.
So let's look at this diagram. You notice there's lines. The lines mean something. So notice that for 4, the lines go to 2 and to 1. Notice that if you go with the arrow, you go to a 2. And if you go against the arrow, you go to the 1. So in the world of this chart, going with the arrow is the direction of stress, and against the arrow is the direction of growth. So think of it as it's easy to go with the arrow, easy to stress. Hard to go against the arrow, harder to grow. So what this means is that 4s tend to stress towards the 2. So the 2 is also a very feeling type.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would say that 2s and 4s are the most heart-based, the most feeling on this whole circle. However, 2s and 4s are very different. 2s' heart energy goes generally more outward. They're nurturing, they're caring for others. They might care for others so much that they fall into the trap of doing it too much, and people don't like that.
I feel like I used to be a not very good a 2. I really like, because I am very nurturing, like, to plants, to dogs, to people, puppies and babies. Plants I raise very well. Flowers, I've grown anything from seed I've ever tried.
The 4 stresses to the 2, which is that
They
nurturing
stress the
energy.
2.
So it's not bad, but I'm just saying that if you're stressed, you'll find yourself caregiving more. And when a 4 is growing, what they do is they go towards the type 1, which is called the reformer, sometimes called the perfectionist. So they're very detail oriented. They like to look around at the world and see what's wrong, what's broken, and they like to contribute towards fixing that. So, for example, Mahatma Gandhi was a type 1, where he was very calm and he was a reformer. He brought social justice to India and England, or he raised the consciousness of the social injustices with England and India. So what this means also is that I bet you if we were to open up your bathroom cabinet or other little places where you store things, I'm going to suggest that these bottles and little things are very, very organized
Yes. You're
and nice
good.
in very neat rows. So that's the
Yes.
4 moving towards the 1. So the 4 on the inside, the 4, well, we were saying that the 2 and the 4 have a lot of emotional energy. The 2 is outward,
Mhm.
contrasted with the 4, whose emotional energy is usually directed inward. They like to sit still and process, process, and then after that, they want to like do some more processing. They just love processing. Is that close to you?
Yes, I will. People will think that I've made a spur of the moment decision, but I've been thinking about it and gelling it and just all the little bits. Absolutely. A lot of that.
And it's more emotional work. Would you say it's thinking work or is it emotional work?
For me, it actually becomes both because I have to say, like my emotions, they're always like right there, and I have to sort
Yeah.
of tame them a little bit and let that logical, so that I could actually make
Yeah.
sure that I'm not thinking all with my heart.
Hmm. Have you ever seen a movie called Girl Interrupted?
Yes.
Did you resonate with the character of that show?
The with Angelina Jolie
So let's
or
see. She
the
was the other
or
one.
Winona. Oh, Winona.
Well,
It's
both
been
of them.
so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm definitely with her, yes, because it would have stood out for sure if not.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in that movie, Winona Ryder for sure was a type 4. And Angelina Jolie, I'm not sure. She's either a 2 or a 4, I would think, in that movie.
Yeah.
What about, did you ever see a movie called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Oh, it's been a minute, but I have. With Jim Carrey, that's a great movie.
So the
And
main,
Kate Winslet.
yes, Kate Winslet, her character's name in the movie is called Clementine.
That's right. With the blue hair.
Yes. So she was a type 4. Do you resonate with
Very,
that character at
yes.
all?
I do, very much.
So whatever your type is, you could be healthy, you could be average, you could be less healthy. So we're going to start off with some healthy examples of 4. The poet laureate of the country, Amanda Gorman. I'm not 100% sure. She might be a 3 or she might be a 4, but I think she might be a 4. Anne Frank.
Oh.
Anne Frank, her diary is full of thoughts and emotions, feelings, processing.
Hmm.
The author, Anne Rice. Do you ever watch Netflix?
Oh, yes, I
So
do.
there's a TV show called Switched at Birth.
Oh, yes, my daughter has mentioned that before, but I haven't watched that one. I will check
Okay.
it out.
Okay. There's a character named Bay. I think she might be I think she's a 4. Uh, so I don't know if you're into the modern music of the younger people. This is like I learned this from my daughter, but Billie Eilish for sure.
So
I'd say 4. In more
Billie
in your
Eilish,
era.
I think was me in a past. Like I have every time I look at her, first time I saw her, I'm like, oh, if I live now, that's what I could have become. Yeah, love
Yeah,
her.
right. Very expressive.
Yes.
Cat Stevens.
Aw. My dad's going to be so happy to hear this. He's not going to disagree. My mom won't either.
The composer Chopin.
Really?
Definitely, his music is very very emotional.
I can see that now that you mention it.
Yeah. And what about the artist
Aw.
Frida Kahlo?
Frida. That's such a compliment. I absolutely so much identify with her. Salma Hayek's portrayal was just amazing
Yeah.
and really, oh, that
And
got me.
also the painter Pollock, Jackson
Okay.
Pollock.
I always, he's one that I almost was like, oh, I identify so much, but I don't want to. But
Yeah.
definitely, it's there.
So do you remember reading A Catcher in the Rye?
So JD Salinger, I wrote some in high school. You have to do like all the English papers. JD Salinger was definitely one. I read Catch from the Rye in fifth grade because I just wanted to see what the big deal was.
Did you identify with the narrator, with Holden Caulfield?
Um, I did identify with him, and I remember at the time, be sweet and be nice was just a sort of common theme growing up. But that sort of was like reading that. It was this little voice like, yep, you, some of those things. I've sometimes felt like I was in an episode or in the book, The Emperor Has No Clothes, like that
Mhm.
I'm seeing this, but nobody else is seeing what's actually happening. So Catcher in the Eye really did sort of spark that, not cynical, but that's the only word I have for it, point of view.
Yeah,
That's
and I would
amazing.
guess that the author J.D. Salinger is also a type 4. So I'm going to run through some of these quickly. So Kate Winslet again, this time in Titanic. What about Lady Gaga? Do you resonate with her?
Love her. Yep, 100%.
So what's different about Lady Gaga? Let's distinguish Lady Gaga from somebody like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is popular, has a beautiful voice, has some powerful lyrics, but she's kind of very much into fame. She likes being noticed. And I guess all of these stars do. But Lady Gaga, you don't get that feeling. You get the feeling that she's doing this for herself. She wants to emote herself. She's going to
Mm-hmm.
wear this ridiculous outfit, crazy outfit, gorgeous outfit, because this is how she feels today. It's all about her feelings and all of the outrageous ways in which she does her makeup. Do you see how there's a difference between Lady Gaga and some of these other pop
Oh,
artists?
absolutely. Absolutely. Have always, from the get go, have just noticed that she cannot help but do it.
Yeah.
And I've looked at some of her background that, I mean, there are a lot of people that just didn't like her
Well,
um,
I would think
for
that.
that reason.
Yeah. So Taylor Swift, of course, it comes from within, but also she's very much in touch with what her people want and what they need.
Yes.
They need to know, advice about love and breakups and all. So she's really focused on that. And then she goes within and produces her music. Whereas Lady Gaga, I think it's all from within. It's all from
Hmm.
within. Here's what I'm feeling now. Here's what I've needed to do. This is my art project for today.
This is
So,
what sparked my creativity today, kind
yeah.
of thing.
So I'm going to go
Hmm.
really quickly again. The poet Rumi from
Oh,
the
yes, the
1200s.
kiss. Uh huh.
In the scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures, the Song of Songs,
Oh,
and you look at Peter Illich Tchaikovsky, the Nutcracker, and all of the other
yes.
wonderful pieces of music that he's written, and Virginia Woolf. I'm sure you're going to like that one.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
So let's go quickly into looking at some average fours. Now, remember, everybody has some history. And even though you may be healthy in the past, you may have not been so healthy. So I'm not putting these people down. I'm just saying that the overall energy is kind of more average. So I'm putting Edgar Allan Poe on this list because he was very dark. And I think he was like in depression for most of his life.
Hmm.
That's why I put him as average. In the Winnie the Pooh character is, all of the 9 Enneagram types are there. And type 4 is obviously Eeyore.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then what about Freddie Mercury from Queen? Do you know anything about him?
Oh, so much. A lot. He's just
He's
phenomenal. I think he's
classic,
phenomenal.
classic type 4, very much in touch with, he would even say to himself, he said it to his father, I'm a performer.
Hmm.
He had to bring out all of his artistic energies out. Johnny Depp, and then Michael Jackson. Look at Michael Jackson and the way he danced, the way he did his videos. They were so beautifully choreographed. He was a total artist, and then he invented the moonwalk. He's so unique. Nobody is like this guy.
Nope.
You can imitate him, but you will not match Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And on the unhealthy side, I don't think I have too much. I only have Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and I only put her as
Mm.
unhealthy because of the tragic part of her life. But even though I'm labeling her as unhealthy, there were some beautiful parts to her life. Yeah. So going back to the circle, so what I want you to take away with is that the beauty of who you are, Amelia, is that you're a feeling person, and it's normal and appropriate for you to go within and process, even though sometimes you may feel like you're doing it too much. It's your natural anchor. It's your place. Now, as you grow as a person, which I think you're actually a healthy for, because you mentioned
Yeah.
things like that you were more of a nurturer, and now you're able to keep it in balance. So the 1 is precise. The 4 is fluid. Emotions are all over the place, all over the ground. hung up on the rack. Your emotions are everywhere. Water is the energy I'm feeling. Water, the water pours everywhere, it gets everywhere.
Mhm.
And then one, it's all cleaned up and nicely organized. So that's why moving towards the one is great energy for you when you notice that happening. So what the Enneagram does is the Enneagram is a map. It says, hey, when I'm starting to be more nurturing, and guess what accompanies when you're more nurturing with others? Generally, you're probably going to be neglecting your own needs. Would you say that's true?
For me, I definitely codependency is the other word that comes to mind. So in my unhealthy state, say that I meet a partner and they are very into something Eastern thought, Eastern decor, Japanese, all of that. All of a sudden, I'm really into it, and it is. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I can find you the very best and the very best of this, and then just get all my little details of it. And then I eventually become saturated with that. I'm done, but the partner's still into that, and I'm like, oh, I put on this costume, and now I'm stuck in it. So when I am unhealthy, I definitely become that too, where I almost a mimic. I mean, it's just I get rid of myself, ignore me, and just become whatever I need to for the moment. And so
Right.
now, healthy and alone, it's still part of me, but it's not all of me. Does that make
Yes.
sense on the
Yeah. So the term self-care is important in your life, I would guess.
absolutely
taking
paramount?
time, taking time for yourself. So, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna guess that in your romantic relationships, that you almost demand that the other party is able to display a full gamut of emotions.
Absolutely, 100%. It is a requirement for me. Absolutely.
Tell me more
It's
about
like a
that.
requirement. Um, I mean, obviously I have, you put up with so much because you think you're either not going to get any better or this is as good as it gets, type of thing. But I don't have time for it. I don't have time. If you don't have your stuff together, I just don't have time for it. I put a lot of work in. I know my negative spots, I know sort of my
So,
triggers, what I do.
so somebody who requires their partner to display the full gamut of emotion is basically saying that I want you to be authentic. When you're happy, you're going to be happy.
Yes.
When you're sad, be sad. When you're angry, when you're jealous, be jealous, but
Yeah.
don't hide it.
Yes.
So I would think that you have a natural gift where when you walk into a room of people, if somebody appears to be happy, you can tell that they're actually not, if that's the case.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Or you
It's
can tell if they're
just,
jealous, or you can identify with laser precision what their emotions are, even though they
I
may
do
not
it to
even.
the phone too. I'm on calls every day. And even though, I do, it's a lot of touchy feely. There's a lot of art. I use a lot of art in my words when I'm talking to people at work. A lot of imagery that way, just because I need them to, just to get something to make this thought stick. And
So
I mainly, they'll promote that self care.
that is your superpower, is that you have a handle on emotions like more than most people. You have a
I've been told
wisdom
that
to offer.
before.
So every type on the Enneagram has something beautiful to offer the world, the community. And your gift is that you teach us about our feelings and how to identify and be authentic with those feelings.
Whew. If 16-year-old me could hear that now.
There's a word which has been dancing around in our talk for the last hour, but we've never said it. I'm going to say it. The
Okay.
word is beauty. I'm going to guess that you're a person who acknowledges beauty like more than most. Like you look at the
Yes.
food on the plate, the picture on the wall, the words. You're a person. Even the way you dress, the way
You're gonna make me cry again in a simple. Like, yes.
you have a handle on beauty like most of us don't.
Thank you for saying that. Really, um, I cannot tell you. That's very healing, actually, for me to hear. Because I, for years, struggled. Like some of that is, and I don't know if this is common with fours, hating the way that I look,
Mhm.
and really have spent an inordinate amount of time in front of a mirror analyzing how asymmetrical, and everyone's face is, but I just thought that mine was like particularly asymmetrical. Um, and just hated it. And, my sister was the beautiful one, and, all of those things. And so I kind of, the same way that I noticed people who are, I don't want to say outcasts, but sort of different, because I know what it feels like. Even when I was on the outside trying to fit in and I'm in my little cheerleading uniform and everything looks just like everybody else, I was still feeling really different. I still stuck out. And so I try to notice those people because I know what it feels like, and it's just, whew, oh, you're getting
Beautiful.
me here.
So again, when we look at the gift that each type offers the rest of the world and the community, one of your gifts that you dish out in large quantities that the rest of us need to really pay attention to is your ability to see beauty.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, just thought of one more thing, one more fun thing. So I know you have a fascination. Would you say is it a fascination with theater?
I fascination with all of entertainment. Not particularly theater, but I do. Um, music is more like just overall anything music related. Yeah, the music
Would
probably first because then after that is dance and theater. So like
would you
they come.
say would you say that there's a part of you that enjoys the performance, the show, the music, all of that, the acting, and a part of you feels like you're on a stage in your life and that it's kind of like you're waiting for your life to begin?
Always. Um, and that was some of the where I struggle with, am I just a mimic? Am I an imposter? Because I've, so many things, because I just kind of like, I know that something is big is meant for me, kind of thing. And so now I'm trying to, in a sense, manifest that to be whatever it is. It may not be in the big, world, but it might be the people that I talk to every day on the phone that I might really change somebody's life that way.
Amelia, thank you so much for being my guest today.
My
Would you
pleasure.
like to say anything about how this experience was for you?
Oh, Paul, the timing is perfect. I am at a point in my life where I'm trying to add more art in, not just doing it, but actually to where I could maybe support myself doing that. Something that the little me saw the best version of me doing. The best version of me is able to support herself with art in some way. And then like a day job is just for fun, switch it that way. And meeting you and the timing and finding all of this out is just perfect because it keeps me motivated to continue being who I am, being authentic. Thank you.
So I don't think you learned anything new from this because you already are very self-aware, but I do feel like, and you made reference to this, that you heard some things to affirm in you things that you know are there, which maybe you didn't embrace before. What are some of those things that you can celebrate that are in you that maybe you didn't celebrate as much before?
Actually, the nurturer, even though it was actually good for me to understand that even though that wasn't healthy for me, it's adjacent to the four, and I can understand why I did it. But I'm still that nurturing, caring person. Um, but that it doesn't, that when I find myself putting all of my energy into someone else or something else, that something that needs to be a flag for me, and that was great information to learn.
Wonderful. By the way, I realize now that I didn't go deeper in explaining some of this. So when I said that the two is your stress path, it does not mean something to avoid. So between now and next week, you're going to stress probably. And so when you're a healthy four, you'll go to a healthy two. You'll stress to a
Oh,
healthy
okay.
two. So it is good for you to
Oh,
go, it is normal and good to go in both directions.
okay. Because I mean, I do still feel that now I feel like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a little more on the four,
Yes.
um,
But when you
kind
go
of
to
thing.
it, yeah, you want to definitely go to both directions. When you go to two, sometimes it'll just be as like a robot where you go to the two and then it's a flag for you. Oh, you know what? I must be stressed because I'm caregiving. Or you could consciously go to it and that's beautiful because you are in a healthy four space. You're going to be a nurturing,
Yes.
loving two. Okay, Amelia, thanks so much. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.